Greetings and welcome to the trade blast for this week. We're sort of doing a pre-trade blast, maybe a quick view of the doc before we start. I want to thank you for being a Patreon supporter and as well as a subscriber. It is greatly appreciated. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Today's trade blast kind of takes a look at what we're expecting to come in for the week. Now, there's a group that I'm a part of, trading group, and pretty much everybody has calls on Tesla right now, starting around probably late 400s into the early 500s, 525, 530s. Now, the setup of their trades was really driven by the fact that there's an expectation during the week that the numbers were supposed to be really good as we got the 3-day follow-through from the Thursday numbers that Tesla had gotten. So the answer is we're expecting this number to be great and things to really boom because Tesla's usually up on Mondays and Tuesdays. So I thought as of like Friday, the trades seemed kind of to make sense. As you just heard from our other show, one of the problems that's popped up is that Tesla is actually in a situation right now where they are not able to, they just announced layoffs. And those layoffs, I felt on first blush, were kind of bad news. They are shut down until May 3rd, and had they not laid off those employees, they'd have to keep paying them. And so with those layoffs, as we shared in the other show, you have a situation where we for sure don't get any new production from Fremont by May 3rd, until May 3rd, but we're now facing the possibility that depending on how long it takes to both replace those employees as well as get suppliers going, the delay in the restart could be anywhere from, May 15th to maybe even June 1st, if in fact the lockdown is lifted by May 3rd. So we're hopeful that this will be the case, and obviously we'll update you as we get more information. So the question is, how does this affect expectations for what kind of happens for the first couple of days of the week? Well, we already know that because the economy is shut down, we now have a tough situation where there are a lot of businesses no longer giving guidance for earnings and that are in very, very deep trouble with their stock prices falling. Boeing comes to mind as one of the biggest losers last week. So the question then is like, what happens next? And the answer is, with Tesla, there seems to always be a miracle. So I suppose we could expect something to push the stock nicely up as of Monday. Our expectation actually is the opposite. We think that what this says is that Tesla is definitely going to miss their number for quarter two, and there's no way that, China is obviously coming online, but we're not really seeing the production volume from China yet to kind of make up for what Fremont was doing. Could it happen? Absolutely. And if they were able to get rolling fast, we could see a miracle occur where everything just turns around from that. I guess there's several problems with that miracle. Number one, the facilities aren't done yet. Number two, I think might be some supply chain challenges there because there may be things coming from the United States not being produced in California or elsewhere that are not going to that plant in a sufficient volume to let them roll. I have to admit that I'm a little bit surprised that batteries haven't been an issue after the Gigafactory shut down. In theory, they may have had a stockpile, or in fact, they've started production from the Chinese manufacturers now, Cattle and LG, to facilitate their ability to get started on production. So it's our expectation the trade situation for this week went from really positive, terrific on Thursday, into kind of iffy as we got into Friday. And now that this news has hit, it's sort of suggesting why it was that the stock price didn't enjoy a nice push, because pretty much there are two components of how this whole thing is working. One is, how did you do numbers wise? And two, what's your guidance going forward? And the guidance in terms of quarter two is obviously going to be rough, given that the company is still shut down. And then we particularly are having some other guidance challenges because we don't know when the restart for Fremont is going to be. So it's good that China is there because it'll help bolster at least the low number will be met. But the uncertainty regarding Fremont's startup / the Giga 1 startup both of those situations is obviously unknown, and the market hates unknowns. So the next week, I think, expect to be choppy, which can be good if you're trading options. It might be a good time to stay nimble on your feet, try to buy the dips for calls, and buy the high points for drops in prices. I'm expecting a huge amount of volatility, and as you know, Tesla typically has a 50-point-ish movement per day, and I definitely expect that there to be at least a 100-point move up or down for the company this coming week, and we think there's 70% chance it's a down based on the fact that the numbers are what they are that we've discussed. We'd like to say that there's a miracle sitting there, but it just seems like a lot of the things that weighed the company's future down relative to, it's dropping back towards 350 seem to have been removed, but we're hopeful that we can get, something attractive happening that facilitates some success that we're not currently seeing. I guess the number one lesson that I would say that one want to think about as we go into the week is there's a concept in trading called the trend is your friend. So be it up or down, and just for that day, I'd really encourage you to sort of embrace what the trend is and trade it profitably if you can. The second thing I wanted to note is that there's a concept called, there's a book called Who Moved My Cheese? What the book was about, as you all know, is the fact that there was a mouse, and every day the mouse went to a certain spot to get its food. And so it continued to go to the same spot despite the fact that the food had been moved or it was all consumed or something of that ilk. And in the case of Tesla, we'd have to say that, finding that no-brainer cash that you can make off of trading without much difficulty is becoming a lot more challenging in light of the virus's impact on everything and everyone. So unfortunately, we are where we are, but I do think if you're in options and the trend is moving significantly in a direction, I say go in and try to pick up 20, 30 points of that move profitably, by buying some either puts or calls, depending on the direction. In the direction things are going heavily, because I do think there's an opportunity to make good money from Tesla, even, et cetera. So the one, if you do choose to go this route, please note that, particularly with Ameritrade, I know their rules, and it's probably the rule with a lot of other folks, there is what's called the $25,000 limit for day trading. So if you don't have at least $25,000 in your account, you're not allowed to do in and out, back and forth trades during the same day. And so this might be noteworthy because, if you're trying to trade a smaller account, even if you don't use the money in it, it's sitting in reserve, that can be helpful in freeing you up for trade options that you may not otherwise have. And it can be smart to sort of make some money, take the profits off the table, and wait for the next day, because as we've seen, news can come out like these layoffs that really change the metrics of what's going on, and therefore staying nimble on your feet could actually be a very smart move in this situation. So in general, as we shared, with the layoffs hitting, it really confirms how long the factory was going to be down. I was hopeful there was something that might be done to get everything rolling again by the 15th of April, but I think it's a little bit of a downer, and I think that we'll see it in the stock that Tesla truly, they're already limited by the May 3 startup rules, but now they're going to also be limited by the fact that they may actually lose a certain percentage of the contractors that don't come back, and then you got to retrain people, and it might affect, for a bit, how long it takes for them to get back and operational. So, we're hopeful for the best on this, and obviously, part of our job is to make sure you're well informed in terms of what we know and the potential impact. And we kind of see this as a potentially somewhat severe downer, and obviously we'll keep you abreast of everything we know. At any rate, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Don't forget 25 leg lifts. Don't go to bed within 2 hours of eating, preferably 4. Also want to encourage you to consider the 5-2 diet or something of that ilk as a way to maintain mental health as well. Best of luck on your weekend trading and other activities. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss, German, au revoir, friends. Lehitro, Hebrew, Hoda, Hafez, Farsi, Hey, Do, Do Virginia, Zdravstvuyte, Russian, hello, Ni hao ma, hello, Chinese. Thanks again for your assistance and spending some time with us. And we look forward to your comments and greatly appreciate your support. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight, and we're going to take you out with just a little bit more video. As you can hear, the sea lions are having a good time over there. All right.